I think that one of the projects that's been the coolest to see you develop while at Oakley has been the NFL partnership.
Oakley offered a lot of opportunity. There's such a wide net of sports, from cycling to motorsports to surf, so I still get that sort of like adrenaline hit. But then when we decided to partner with NFL, that put us on a different, platform. So that landed on me, which was exhilarating and also horrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I better not fuck this up.
Shade isn't a place you hide. It's where you pause, where you think, where real work happens. Quietly, creatively, and authentically. No slides, no filters. Just candid conversation about a story worth telling. It's not about villains. This is where brand builders, creatives, and storytellers come to share the stories they usually don't tell in pitch decks or press releases. It's about the people who work behind the scenes, challenge the obvious, bend the rules, or build unforgettable brands. This is
Shady Characters.
Hey, I want to say thank you for coming on. Today we've got Chasen Marshall. Chasen is an Oakley relic. He's been around the Oakley brand now for well over a decade. Global content manager. What are we calling you these days?
I don't know. It's like whatever I want to put on LinkedIn, or if I have to, show up somewhere.
What sounds the best?
We've been using head of lately.
Oh,
because
yeah.
then it doesn't give you a specific.
It's better than the tail.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a director, but head of energy sports for North American sports.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff that resonates mostly with the U.S. market. So I manage most of the stuff over here.
Yeah, and I think kind of what we were alluding to earlier is that Oakley is a global sports powerhouse or a global brand powerhouse, and there is so many stories and so many angles that this brand kind of tackles. Your team, led by you, is kind of in control of what that voice is, what is and is not Oakley, helping make sure that that everything that comes out kind of has a cohesive look and feel and passes the Chasen sniff test. Is that accurate?
In some ways. I mean, I have a boss too who leads the team I'm on, but I think a lot of my role over the years has been somewhat of that authenticator.
Yeah.
We have counterparts overseas who don't work out of our building and maybe perceive the brand different, or just don't have as much familiarity. So I know that's been part of how I got integrated into the global team there, and making sure, authenticity, telling the story the right way, brand right, whatever it might be. That's always been part of my role. And just like you said, because I'm such a relic and have been around as long as I have, like
I say that in the nicest way possible.
It's hard to hide it with the gray beard these days. So it's like it is what it is. I embrace it, and I look at the birth years of some of my coworkers, and it's like, okay, this is a little odd, but I also
The birth decade of some of the coworkers.
that too, yeah. But I also, I mean, I don't think it's the creative work has a an expiration date on it.
Yeah.
So as long as you're continuing to progress and challenge yourself and try stuff that's new, like whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
So you're the head of now, but you obviously don't start as the head of. Mm-hmm. Tell me, how did you kind of find your path, and how did you find Oakley as a brand?
So my background was it's always been in storytelling. I've always been in content in some capacity. I was a journalist before I was at Oakley.
Mm-hmm.
That was the career path I wanted to pursue. Coming out of high school, going into college, I knew from the day I started at Chapman what I wanted to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
Got into that right after college in like the surf industry, was working at Surf Magazine. It was awesome. I was traveling, started taking photos. Photos became a tool for some of my writing. Surf industry went through some changes. Joined a creative agency, but at the same time was like, I still want to be in journalism. I still want to be doing features and all the stuff that I had spent my career trying to build toward. And on a whim, applied to graduate school just to kind of keep myself busy until I found my next move, and surprisingly got into graduate school. Only applied to one graduate school, and is the best graduate school in journalism. So I was like, okay, I did not expect that to go that way.
What is the best graduate school in journalism?
Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was an Ivy Leaguer, no big deal.
Yeah. It's in South America, right?
I actually didn't realize it was an Ivy League when I first applied or whatever, but I knew the reputation of it.
Yeah.
Allowed me to relocate to New York, take on a bunch of debt. You know, that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome experience. Got to meet a lot of really talented people, a lot of whom I'm still in touch with, who are still doing wild shit in the journalism space. Journalism, obviously, as a profession, has gone through a lot of change in the 15 years since I graduated from J school. When we were there, they're like, "What do we do about paywalls and how do we, monetize journalism?" And we're all like, "I'm just here to be a reporter and write. I don't know about the business." So it's funny that was the iteration of what was going on at that time in journalism, and now it's a whole different world now. But I have a lot of good friends from there that are still doing the good work of doing proper journalism. So I was doing still came out of J school doing long form features, some city politics stuff, investigative journalism. Not really my cup of tea. Didn't like pissing people off or getting pissed off calls. But I loved writing. I love storytelling. I mean, that's always just been a part of what I've enjoyed and have a passion for. And kind of in between jobs, a friend of mine just mentioned this position that opened up at Oakley. It was an in-house journalist. So by title, it seemed similar. I knew it was not journalism in its truest sense, but it was storytelling and it was sports, and it was a lot of the sports I'm very passionate about, surf, snow, whatever it might be. And it all just worked out that right time, right place. And so I started in Oakley in, I don't remember if it was 2012 or 2013 now, but I've been there for, like you said, over a decade. And came in as a storyteller, it was in action sports space, really just in the sports marketing department. Like, how do we make sure that the athletes that we have on the roster, we're telling their stories, celebrating their victories, their big moments, new movie premieres, whatever it might be. But just very much focused on athlete story. Now, athlete storytelling as it related to the benefiting the brand is not really product storytelling. It wasn't really campaigns or any of that stuff. It was like singularly a tool for sports marketing to make sure we're showcasing our athletes and what they're about. And that was like when we were just kind of getting our social media channels going, which really makes me feel dated. Shout out to Tamara for starting our Instagram channel. But that stuff is all in its infancy, like how you actually reach consumers with stories, and is pretty straightforward at that point.
So we talk about Shady Characters as being a storytelling podcast, but I think you truly live it in its essence to your core, right? Because you've been talking about storytelling probably since you were knee high to a grasshopper, right? Like that's been a tool, that's been a thing that you've focused on for so long. Tell me, how does it continue to kind of set the foundation for any project that you work on now? What lens do you look at a project and apply maybe the ethos that you always have with this storytelling lens?
Yeah, I mean, going back a little bit, like when I started at Oakley, I mean, coming from a journalism background, it was like almost like a dirty word to say I worked in marketing. Like it was just not something I really wanted to acknowledge almost. Like I was a storyteller, as a content creator, whatever it might be. I've gotten over that now, and I'm fine.
Are you saying that you were more like a purist, and this is a different?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like journalism was something we were telling real stories about real people to uncover something or tell, not something that was like, hey, there's a slant here to help you sell product or buy product or whatever it might be. So especially, again, coming from J school, it's just like, it felt a little dirty at the time. Again, I've gotten over it. I'm good now. But point being, like, once I started to get into moving beyond just athlete storytelling and moving into, I think my next role after working in sports marketing was, I think, became like digital marketing, and it was starting to do more actual marketing type content. And I struggled with it a little bit when I started doing the product specific stuff, because I'm like, oh, it's not as cool as going to X Games and traveling and working with athletes. But then I came to realize that, like, utilizing the skill set I had of like, this product has a story. What is the story we want to tell? And just looking at it through that prism made it a lot easier, much more exciting. And especially as I built the skill set of like, not just working with the written word, but working with photo, video, it became a much wider net to cast to figure out how to tell storytelling or how to execute that storytelling. And it became challenging, which was exciting. Like instead of just, okay, here's our 5th X Games in a row, how do we tell this story in the same way? it was experimenting with new mediums, leaning into new creative partners to help push the envelope on how we want to show up in that space or tell that story, whether it's through athletes or, you know, product only approach or whatever it might be. It's still at my core is still storytelling. It's still something creative and fresh, and wasn't day after day the same sort of project or the same sort of approach. And and even to this day, it's like to see what I did then versus what I do now, or even what I did 5 years ago versus how we approach it now.
Yeah.
Storytelling is still at its core, but how we approach that and how we you know recreate that somewhat similar story is the persistent or constant challenge. So
As an expert in this, what makes a good story to you?
in what regard? You mean like with a product, or?
I guess I mean as a person, or an experience. Yeah. What do you look for?
I mean, I think like any story, when you're approaching it, whether it's written or whatever, it's having characters or some sort of like purpose for what it is. I mean, yes, in marketing, it's like find your why for why a story or a product exists. That's always going to be meaningful, of like, why did we create a surf helmet, or why this new pair of eyewear, and who are the characters that help bring that story to life? And and everything is going to be a little bit different, because not everything has a rich, in-depth story that is going to, you know, compel some sort of outcome for your consumers. But I think when there's like some substantive, you know, context to lean into, thinking about like the surf helmet. The surf helmet is probably not something people really thought about.
Sure.
People happen to wear them, but not only did we just design something interesting, but we had athletes that didn't even know they wanted these, and we had an opportunity to redesign something that no one was thinking about, and it became this like output that was so much richer than its original intent, that it became unexpected, like where we were going to go with that. So it naturally had a story to it. I mean, yes, it's just the development of a product. It's not the, you know, cure to cancer or the end of a war, but it's still like something where you get to go on a journey and understand something and understand how something changes and evolves.
But I'd argue against that, because I think that you know, while it's not the cure to cancer, it is helping progress a sport that is inherently dangerous and allowing people that are already doing it in its most dangerous form in the world be safer while they do that, right? So in a way, it is creating a new way to do that safer, right? And that's pretty exciting, right?
Yeah, and I agree with your point, though. I guess like when we think about, I guess I think about from like a marketing standpoint, we're trying to sell a product. We're not. In theory, yes, we are saving lives with that helmet. I mean, we had a friend of ours that we gave a helmet to 2 weeks after we gave it to him. He's like, "Thank God for you guys giving me this, because I hit the reef face on." On a 10-foot wave, and if I wasn't wearing that helmet, who knows what would have happened. My family was on the boat. I was able to paddle back out to him and just had a big ding in the helmet. So yes, it does have real world applications and like consequences that it can prevent against. So in that one, I think that's also why that was meaningful for us. Is that it did feel like we were contributing to something versus like, hey, here's our new sunglass, or here's our new snowboard kit or whatever. So I wasn't trying to undermine the impact of that product. But yeah, it did have, that was part of the story of that product, is like, we're changing the culture here. Like there's more people endorsing wearing helmets than there were 2 years ago, because we have a superior product that was out there, and like something that didn't feel as cumbersome and like limiting of your experience versus what was out there. So yeah, there's those sort of like outcomes of some of the stories we do, the products that we create, that does make it a more meaningful story to tell.
So in your time at Oakley, do you feel, and I've got an opinion on this, so I'm curious to hear yours. Do you feel that your presence has kind of influenced the direction that Oakley has gone in storytelling with not only their products but their athletes, and kind of across the board? Now that you're the head of, you kind of get to influence and oversee some of that. Do you feel that your experience has led to kind of a shift in those stories and how Oakley tells those stories?
In some ways, I think like on the team I'm on, between myself and Jess, like we see the value of story, and in not just creating a beautiful piece of content to sell a product, but to like have someone understand a product on a more intimate or human level or whatever it might be. I do think there has been more adoption and understanding of like the value of that. Like we call them like the product development stories, like how does a product come to life?
Yeah.
We lean into that a lot. We did that. We went pretty deep with that with the syrup helmet. We just did it with the new retention product that we created. I do think it adds a ton of value to the story we're telling beyond just the the marketing spin that we put on whatever that new product might be. So I think there has been more and more adoption of that, and that has been something other team members, because we lead our categories and then we have our counterparts who lead theirs, and however they want to approach that is kind of their own initiative. But we have seen more and more of this like docu-style approach to product storytelling that
which I got to assume, and so my opinion of this is that the authenticity that probably is derived from your upbringing and your education, and there is that sense of like grit, authentic, real, and I feel like there has been a big shift in how Oakley presents a lot of those stories in that direction, right? And I got to assume that there is a bit of Chasen Marshall's thumbprint on some of that stuff, right? Because that's probably if a Columbia educated journalist were to come into marketing and tell you how to market stuff, they probably would be some of those elements that you'd want to incorporate to tell that story properly. And it's pretty cool to see kind of how these stories have evolved over the years from being what I would call maybe more polished marketing present pieces that are just so over the top beautiful to maybe something that is a bit more gritty and a bit more real feeling.
I mean, I'd like to think I've had an impact in that regard, like realizing the value and trying to infuse more of that into how we're showing up as a brand and as how we're telling stories. I wouldn't say it cascades across the entire brand. I mean, some categories just it doesn't either make as much sense or whatever, but I do think there's been more and more of that, and people see the value of it. We're constantly up against evolving consumer habits now, where long form storytelling, we question how much value it can have, and that's one of the biggest challenges we have right now. Is like we want to tell the stories, we see the value, but going back to me being a relic, I have different consumer habits and attention spans and all of that. So that's something my team or Jess and myself are always talking about. Like we love that, and we see a lot of value, and we see a certain audience that really has a lot of value, sees a lot of value in that. But
when you talk about long form, we're talking like 5 to 7 minute, like mini docs, micro
3
docs.
minutes is long form. Like
3 minutes is a long form.
Yes, mostly 30 to 60 seconds is like your traditional, and I feel like even we're being pushed to go shorter, and it's like, how the hell do you tell a story in 15 to 30 seconds?
I think we were all happy when Vine died and we didn't, and no longer had to fit stuff into 6 seconds, 7 seconds. But maybe it's coming back.
I don't know. And that's what we're constantly having to respond to that. But I do think also we're up as a brand, just again, as storytellers, like we see the value in investing in telling the story of the brand, the product, the athletes, whatever it might be. And I have a hard time believing someone who wants to spend premium price point dollars on a product doesn't want to have that extra validation that like there's more to this than just a frame and a pair of lenses or something like that. So and it's also some of it's brand building, some of it's product storytelling. I mean,
but maybe it's harder to see that direct ROI on that long form content.
100%.
So but from a brand building standpoint, there's probably so much legs to that you aren't even able to measure the metrics directly against, right?
Especially a brand like Oakley, like we're so broad in terms of how many places we show up in, all the different verticals or all the different sports that we show up in. We have one way we approach things in football, diamond sports, surf, the golf, the categories I lead and Jess lead. Everyone has their own way to approach it. We've done it differently in snow. We've done it differently in lifestyle. There's not going to be a one size fits all. And that also wouldn't even make sense because we are such a diverse brand and different sports resonate in different markets. So there's so much like nuance that we have to think about. But that's also part of like keeping the brand fresh and making sure we aren't just getting, stuck in one sort of silo that we look and feel that one way. We're regardless of how you interact with us.
So growing up, if I'm correct, you're really into action sports, right? Surf, skate, snow. I think that one of the projects that's been the coolest to see you develop while at Oakley has been the NFL partnership. And even though that is not maybe historically somewhere that you you saw yourself being able to influence so much, the presence that Oakley has gained in the NFL space over the last, what has it been, 5 or 6 years, is pretty monumental. Tell me a little bit about kind of your involvement there and what it feels like to kind of grow a category that historically wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I loved about coming to Oakley, and one of the reasons I love what I do, is like I don't want any day to be the same. So I love coming into Oakley, and it wasn't just, I never want to work at a surf brand because I love surfing, but I feel like it gets sort of monotonous and redundant and just not having the same sort of drive. So I've loved all the learning that's come with new sports, new products, new athletes, whatever, new stories to tell. So it kept it very fresh. And Oakley offered a lot of opportunity. There's such a wide net of sports, from cycling to motorsports to surf. So I still get that sort of like adrenaline hit. But then a lot of the sports, being a North American consumer and growing up reading the LA Times and seeing what, you know, they were writing about and was showing up on TV and all of that, like a lot of the sports Oakley was historically in weren't on that biggest pedestal. Baseball may be even the one difference there. But when we decided to partner with NFL, that put us on a different, you know, platform in terms of visibility, and we're now in with the big boys and the most, you know,
literally and figuratively.
And so when that came to us, I'm trying to remember how it first came to, like, hey, you're going to be the one to work on that. I mean, we had at that time already had a global presence in Europe, and there was a world where they would have been like, hey, we're going to drive this one. It's the biggest investment the brand has. But I think they recognize
football doesn't
like,
like, play in Europe.
Yeah, it's not soccer. It's football. And so that landed on me, which was exhilarating and also horrifying at the same time. Because it's just like, I better not fuck this up. Like, this is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of investment from the brand. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs because we knew it was going to have a national audience. It's going to go on broadcast from like a storytelling standpoint. So to be part of that was super exciting. And it's just, I mean, it all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, we're going to go shoot with Patrick Mahomes and that time Derwin James and Juju Smith-Schuster. And it's just like a level up in terms of the type of storytelling we were doing, the type of budgets we were working with, all of that, and like making sure if we're going to show up on a national stage, we better come right and like figure out how to like announce Oakley as like a player that's worthwhile of this moment and this visibility. So
So did your love of the Packers come after you already got into the football thing at Oakley, or have you always liked a terrible team?
So I'm surprised I didn't lead with that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to go Pack, go. Like in the NFL space and working with the Packers. No, the Packers thing predates my time at Oakley. My uncle was and still is a season ticket holder, even though I'm from California. So
Can you explain the cheese head to me? Because I've always been confused. The hat has holes and it's a slice of cheese, but it's what type of cheese historically has holes in it?
Swiss cheese.
And what color is Swiss cheese?
White.
And what color is your hat?
I mean, if you age it right, if you wear it enough, it does get to white. But yes, it is yellow.
Why the hell do you have an orange hat with holes in it and you put it on your head in Green Bay?
I mean, if you're worried about the color, let alone the fact that you're putting a massive piece of cheese or what looks like a cheese on your head. I do have a cheese head. Actually, my dog ate the adult size one. I have a child size one that no longer fits my kids, but we do have a cheese head. I know. It's part of the culture. I mean, Lambeau is just awesome. If you haven't been there, it's just like bucket list. But yes.
What was it like the first time you got to go? Because now you've done shoots.
Dude, it's wild. Like where I got to,
like the places that you and your family probably grew up. You know, you're walking into Mecca. Now you're walking in like to the best access thing you could ever hope for
Yeah.
in places that you only dreamed of, right?
I know.
What is that experience
I
like?
can't remember if it was year 1 or year 2 that we partnered with the Packers
Yeah.
and Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones is still one of our partners, not even though he's on the Vikings now. But when we partnered with them, we went and did shoots at Lambeau,
Yeah.
like in the stadium,
Pretty cool
like on the
experience.
field. Although even Aaron Jones wasn't allowed to go on the field
Interesting.
during our shoot. We had to be on the edge. There's like
Yeah.
a track around the outside, but you came in through the players' entrance. We couldn't go in the locker room either. That's also sacred territory. But to be able to I mean, I don't fanboy on athletes,
Yeah.
but like I definitely fanboyed a little bit on being like at Lambeau and working with Aaron, and he's just like such a good dude. And but that's also, I mean, been part of the experience of the NFL thing. Like I think a lot of my time before the NFL, like it was just like a lot of the athletes we work with are just dudes and they're cool to work with, and you should respect them for their abilities and the work that they put in to get to that point. But it wasn't, I don't know, I guess I've never really been, it's been a while since I've been like starstruck by anyone. But just, that was a surreal moment, like getting to work with the Packers and go to Lambeau. I mean, just for a personal bucket list moment, it was really cool. So
I don't know if you remember, so I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. You
and
gifted
you're making
me
fun of my team, but keep going.
you gifted me an autographed baseball or autographed football. DK Metcalf. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And DK now has been traded to the Steelers, but the ball still has strong resonance in my house because my wife is a Steelers fan. So it's like, well, the ball lives on. Now I just handed it along, and now she gets to enjoy DK on the team. Yeah. Yeah. What is there any other sports that have really stood out to you? You said you don't fanboy out often, but there's obviously things that we get to be a part of, or you get to be a part of in this role that are always, one of those, you just kind of stand there and you go, wow, am I really doing this right now?
Yeah.
And this is a job? Like, how cool is that?
I mean, I think there's been a lot of those moments in my time at Oakley.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it resonates with me a certain way or my friends or family being like, you were doing what yesterday? Or you're going where?
Yeah.
I mean, my first trip when I started at Oakley, and I've done a fair amount of travel over the years, was like, oh, hey, welcome to the team. In 2 weeks, can you go to Bali? It's like, wow, I barely traveled internationally.
Couldn't even find it on a map, but okay, sure. Yeah.
And like when I played catch with Patrick Mahomes on a shoot, that's when I pass it on to someone. They're like, you did what?
Yeah.
On the second time when we played catch, I missed the ball entirely and I ruined the photographer's lens, but we don't show that video as much. But there's been a lot of those moments. I mean, that's been one of the best parts of working at Oakley is the exposure to all these different types of athletes in different parts of the world. And again, just as being a fan of sports in general, like it doesn't need to be my favorite sport, but being able to get a certain level of access and proximity to athletes and moments in sports history or whatever it might be, like
absolutely,
it's just always surreal and something I appreciate, and probably why I'm still here. I mean, I don't know if there's anything I still have on my list. It's just as they come up, and if they feel like they have meaning or purpose or something that we can latch onto, like I'm gonna appreciate all of them. So,
Raising your kids. I know you've got 2 boys. And how old are they now?
10 and 7.
10 and 7, and they're both into baseball and soccer. What are they doing?
Very into sports. The other one's like, I'm more into art and being creative and all that stuff. So,
Do you notice? Did you always notice an immediate difference in their personality in terms of which one was maybe going towards the more competitive side, which one was gonna go into the artistic side?
Yeah, one was a little more of a wallflower in sports, whereas the other one was very much competitive from the get-go. I guess that my mom was telling me there was actually some similarities to like how my brother and I were. It's funny, we always talk about like they come from the same gene pool and they could not be 2 more different people in terms of like what they care about and how they present themselves to the world. But it's also the wonders of parenting is there's no formulaic approach to how you raise your kids. So I mean they're different in that regard for sure.
Are they, because I know you've always been a voracious reader, is one of them also, or maybe both of them, or they following?
They're both huge readers, which is awesome. My oldest, who's not as much into the sports thing, is constantly reading or listening to books
Yeah.
on tape or whatever. Like it's almost becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
And my second is also a huge reader, which is great. I mean, I don't think we forced it on them, but it's just books have always been in the house and
Yeah.
something we started reading them at a young age. And I talked about like that's how I found my career. And I don't think my kids think I have a cool job or even know what I do. Although I guess a couple of weeks ago when my youngest was like, I told so and so at school that you do this, or like someone made the comment like your dad has a cool job. So I think he all of a sudden, because he has the validation of someone else, thinks my job is cool or what I do is cool.
Yeah.
But I just let them know, like, I mean, they know I travel a lot and I'm around athletes and that stuff and have a fun enough job that came through reading and storytelling and writing and all that stuff. And we try and reinforce that, like, those skills, even though our work right now or homework for you will benefit you. It's like the hardest thing right now is trying to convey. And it's like all of us when we went through school, like, do I really need to learn this stuff?
Yeah.
Is this stuff actually going to matter?
Yep. When you think about your legacy and about what you would hope for them, is there anything that stands out? Like, it sounds like they both maybe naturally have some of the inclinations that you did with the reading, which probably translates to storytelling. Is there anything that you really foresee for them? And I guess when you think about like how your legacy presents with them, are there any hopes that you have there?
I mean, I think I was thinking about that. It's like people saying like, my dad always told me this, or what will they take away from me? Like not that I have a catchphrase or anything like that, but the only things I feel like I tend to reiterate with them is like, I want you to be passionate about whatever it is you enjoy. If it's sports or reading and art or passionate and curious. I mean, we have traveled a fair amount with them, and because we want to expose them to different cultures, different locales and ways of living and all of that. And my wife and I love traveling, so they're coming whether they like it or not. But that intrigue and that you learn about those different places via reading, and maybe like it was pretty cool after we did a family trip to Europe this summer, and then I can remember which one of my boys like, oh, we learned about it in school, or it came up somewhere. And it's like, oh, I went there. And so like and most people hadn't had those sort of experiences. So like I think they, little by little, whether they appreciate it or not, are hopefully building that same sort of like desire to learn and experience new things and read more and not just be stuck in the same thing day after day.
Sure.
So I'd like to think like the passion and curiosity thing is something I've somewhat ingrained in them. But we'll see.
It's funny, right? You think, and I think it doesn't apply as much to the space that you work in, and I can say from my experience that I work in. But at some point, people always talk about like having lost that creative curiosity, right? Like maybe it's whatever job you do day to day becomes more mundane. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about you is that you look for opportunities that, no 2 days are alike, no two projects are alike. You kind of stoke the fire of that creative curiosity regularly. Do you think that your upbringing has kind of led to not having anything get too stale? And how do you instill that in your kids so that doesn't happen to them and they keep that, kind of the creative curiosity fire stoked?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that one. Like I don't know where like my curiosity or my creativity came from. Neither of my parents worked in a creative field. My mom read to me a lot. I was constantly around books. My dad loved movies, so maybe that just kind of unintentionally was something that resonated with me or came through. But I also think about the fact that like they didn't force anything on me, and I just ended up where I am through my own pursuits or interests or avenues or people influencing me in a certain direction, either point out they recognized a skill set or an aptitude or something. I don't know. That's kind of a hard one. Like,
I think that you're still a big surfer, right? And I am not a surfer. One of the things that I always respect and value when I see surfers is that I feel like there's so much fluidity to what that is, and you almost, it requires you to be creative because there's no rigidity to that sport, right? And so having something like that you're passionate about always inspires me. I'm like, man, I love watching people evaluate a thing that is never going to be like this exact thing again. So you're looking at the first time you've ever seen this exact wave because they're always different, right? And I really value how people can look at that and maybe naturally adapt and change to adjust to be fluid with that, right? And I think there's something so beautiful about that.
I mean, it's funny. I'm actually trying to teach my kids to surf now. They've finally shown an interest in it, and in trying to teach them. And I've tried to teach people in the past how to surf, but it's not until you're like there trying to convey, oh, it's just pushing to get into a wave and pop up, that you realize like, oh, there's so much complexity here, and so many little details that you unintentionally just know how to pick up on and read and adapt to your exact point, that like it does come with years of experience and doing things right and doing things wrong. And I guess I could see how that could naturally carry over to like how you approach different projects or, you know, things in your life. Like some things are going to be easy. Some things are going to be a lot harder based on whether you've had exposure to it or if it's a completely different variable that you hadn't like, you know, come across at any point in your career or life or whatever it might be. I don't know if there's a natural like carryover between pursuit of surfing and a pursuit of going with the flow and being adaptable. And
there's probably a lot of bankers that surf too, you know?
You need that flexibility in your schedule.
I know.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're kind of wrapping it up here, but I'm curious to hear, you know, where does the trajectory of your career go from here? What things are you hoping to accomplish here in the future? What would you love to start to work on?
That's a hard one. I think when I thought about this like conversation, like the things I wanted to speak to and like the learnings I would have from my time at Oakley or my career, it's like I've never really gone into this with a plan. And I remember I used to always not dread those like, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10-year questions, but like I didn't exactly know, partly I want to be able to like go with the flow, but also I was like, I don't.
Because you're a surfer.
Maybe possibly, but also just because either I didn't want to set the expectations for myself too high, or also just because I don't know. I really enjoy what I do, and at every point in my career, I've enjoyed what I did in that moment. And not to say I was necessarily looking to like, what is the next step? How do I take what I've got here and from 2 to 3 years ago, I want to be in this position. And maybe that's been to my own detriment, but it's sort of worked out.
I'd say so.
I mean, obviously you always want to be growing and continue to be challenged and moving up within the company. I love the collaboration process. So working with people that maybe don't have the same experience I do. And also just as we were talking about earlier, being a relic in the building, like I also know there's a lot I can learn from younger people in the building who have had different life experiences and perceive or you know, react to content differently. So I don't think the age thing is a real factor in like whether or not you can do this job or be a creative person or tell an effective story. I think the collaborative process is something I'm always going to want to be a part of, and maybe that's just with more people working on my team, and whether that's guiding Oakley's storytelling or another brand, I don't know. But again, just not having it feel the same as the day before, and hopefully not putting on a suit and tie. So,
well, I think you've found a home in a brand that, that, like you said, you know, you love surfing, but never wanted to work for a surf brand because, you know, as fluid as surfing is, that would probably get stale over time. But you've found a brand in Oakley that has the ability to have touch points in so many different avenues that it's kind of limitless, right? And that's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool. I mean, we didn't even talk about the space thing, but like that's an amazing story, you know? We talked a little bit about that with Jess, you know, but I think that there are stories there that you probably never really anticipated getting to work on when you go to even a brand like Oakley. You're like, oh, wait, we're making space, you know, the face mask for the visor for a space helmet now that's going to go to the moon. Like, that's a pretty phenomenal story, you know?
And I think that's partly why maybe I don't set strict goals for myself or whatever it might be, because I do like to be adaptable. And
Yeah.
I, especially like you said, working for a brand like Oakley, it's exciting that you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while, maybe it was just action sports, but then when it became a little broader in terms of the sports I was speaking to or the
Yeah.
products I was representing, I would never thought I'd been working in the NFL space.
Yeah.
When I started all those years ago, and
Yeah.
definitely didn't think we'd be speaking to space agencies. And,
Sure.
it's exciting that there is no real like end in sight for what's possible from
Yeah.
the brand, and that just means there's more stories to tell and more people to work with and more ways we can expand how we approach every project and keep it fresh. So
I like it, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I want to say thank you for coming on today and being a shady character with us. I know we've known each other for a bunch of years now, but always a pleasure getting the chance to chat with you more and dive a little bit deeper. So thank you again for being here.
absolutely. I don't know if I feel good about being a shady character. Justin and I talked about that, but I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks,
Go, Pat,
man.
Go.
All right. See ya. What else have you been up to today?
Today, just getting through the morning.
Is this office day or no office day?
I'm kind of in no office days
Yeah.
ever right now,
Yeah.
just because we got the puppy.
Yeah.
And she can't really be alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also kind of at the point with talking to my wife. I'm like, I can't not be going to the office ever. So
Yeah.
when do we reach the point where I can leave her home? She just can't be home for like a couple hours at a time. On
Yeah.
her own. So
How old is Chocolate Lab again?
Chocolate Lab
Yeah.
again. I know she looks like Luna too.
Yeah.
She went into the office for the first time a couple weeks ago, and
Nice.
like all work stopped.
Yeah.
There's like 12 people sitting
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
floor in the middle of the walkway by the stairs, just like checking her out. And someone thought they didn't know Luna had passed away, and
Uh-huh.
they're like, "Oh, we just thought you brought your dog again, but she had shrunk or something." She's like,